Hello, welcome to another episode of Chaotic Torture RC. This is going to be another episode for a Tech Tip Sunday. I don't know what kind of chargers you all use for your NiCad, nickel metal, and LiPo and such. This is one of my first chargers back in the day. Decent charger for the money, it works, gets the job done. I have several chargers now. The only thing I did not like about this charger was the wall wart power supply that it came with, similar to a laptop power supply. Over time, mine got hot and it swelled up, and then still worked, but it became very unsafe to use. So I'm going to show you all an alternative to making a permanent power supply for your chargers that is a stable, steady source of power. And it's also a good way to recycle, and it can save you all some money, because there are companies out there that sell power conditioners and power supplies to power your chargers with. Or you can use a computer power supply. You can take this out of any old computer. It doesn't have to be nothing special. They all have the same power output. It's all coded by the color of your wires. You have a set of yellow wires on there. That's going to be your 12 volt. Your red wires are going to be a 5 volt. Your orange wires are a 3.3, I believe, 3.3 volt. And then you have a blue wire that is a negative 12 volt. Your black wires are going to be your ground. And when you hook these up to a computer, they have to be plugged into a board for the power supply to turn on when you hit the power button. I'm going to show you how to bypass that by soldering two wires together. You can use an on-off toggle switch if you want. You don't have to. I'm not going to use it for this. I'm going to keep this one as simple of a build as we possibly can. That way those out there with limited supplies can use what you have. You can order, if you have to order a power supply, you can go on eBay and order these cheap ones like this for $5, $10, $15. I don't know. A lot of times you can find them. People throw out their old computers, pick it up, test it. The only thing you really need to do when you're testing a power supply is make a jumper wire, and on your 20 or 24 pin connector, run a jumper from the green wire to a black, and then plug it in. If the power supply comes on, you're good. If you're still uncertain of your voltages, you can hook a multimeter up to it and test it. I'm not going to do all that in this video. I know this works, and for the purpose of this video, I already pulled all the screws off my cover so I can take it off. Now, every power supply, the cover is going to come off differently. But for this one, this is what I have. To some, it may look confusing. Don't let it get to you. It's not that bad. It's not that scary. First things first, as I mentioned before, the green wire and a ground wire. You can wire these to a toggle switch and mount it into the case and have an on-off switch for it. I've done that with my previous one that I've got that I use on a daily basis. But for this purpose of the video, I'm not doing it that way. What you want to do is strip your wires there. I'm going to have to tin them. Real quick here. I was thinking about putting heat shrink tubing on it, but I will probably later on go and put a switch in this one, so I'm not going to do it where anything's permanent yet. Alright. I tin these two wires. Let me get my helping hand over here to hold this. And now Just solder them together, let the solder cure up. And since I'm not going to do the heat shrink tubing, I will be using electrical tape. Anything you solder that leaves a bare area, you want to cover up so you don't cause any kind of shorts. Alright, now I've got a whole mess of wires here, and they're all zip tied together. If you wanted to set this up, you could do it to where you could use the 5-volt and put USBs in it. That way, there's so many different ways you can do stuff with this. But I'm just going to focus on the RC powering capabilities for powering our chargers. So I only need 2 wires. I need a yellow and a black, and I don't want all this extra nonsense that I'm not going to need here. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting off the factory zip ties so I can physically remove all other wiring from the board. I don't need it. It's not going to be, like I said, it's not going to be used. Alright, so I don't know how well you'll be able to see this. That's my yellow. That's my 12 volt. That's one of the things that I'm going to have to remember while doing this. So I'm going to go ahead and unsolder these yellow ones from the board. It might take a few. Actually, I'm not even going to do that. I'm just going to cut it. That's what I started to do. It's just a tighter area. Cut it and leaves a little bit of wire there that I will use later on. So now all the 12 volt wires are gone. I have this plug here, which is from the wall wart that originally plugged in to the side of my charger. I did save that. I'm going to have to see how far apart my ground wire is from where my positive is going to be. It's only a few rows over, so I don't have to have a huge spacing of wire there. I know right now it looks like complete mess and chaos on my camera trying to figure out what's going on here. I will show you all real quick here what I've got going on and how this is going to be working, because when I put this case back together, the only wires that are going to be exposed is going to be the ones that I plug into. Just had to tin these real quick. Alright. Pull all this out of the way. Alright, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take all my orange wires. That's my 3-volt system. I do not need them. I'm going to cut them all flushed there. I did leave some in there in case I decide to go back later down the road and use the 3 volts for something. But I'm going to go ahead and tape them all off together now, since for now I'm not going to be using anything on it, so I don't want them touching nothing, don't want them shorting nothing out. They can touch themselves. They can be. I could have twisted all themselves together and taped it if I chose to. It wouldn't have hurt nothing to do that. You just want to be sure that they're not going to touch the frame of this or any other components with a bare end. Alright, next is going to be the red wire, which is my 5 volts. And I'm definitely going to hang on to them because I plan on later on down the road utilizing some other ports. I got room in this case that I can actually cut and put probably a USB section in it, just for maybe charging some of my GoPro accessories or something like that. Probably wouldn't work real well with your newer cell phones that use the fast charging setup, because it's not designed. I mean, it would still charge your phone, but it's obviously not going to charge as fast as what a phone charger would do. And sorry for the background noise. That's one of my dogs in there. I'm going to assume it's my dog Snickers, because she still has her rabies collar on her tag. My other dog lost his. Alrighty, now got a whole bunch of ground wires here and one brown wire. Let me get that brown wire out of here because I don't need it with the grounds. And once again with these, I'll cut these a little bit longer. Not that I would ever need that many ground wires for anything, but you never know. I will use one. I'm going to solder the positive straight to the board, but for the ground I'm going to go ahead and solder to one of the wires there. It's just more convenient. And I've got a few more ground wires here that I need to trim up. Pull the one more red wire there that was connected to a plug that I missed. Sorry for the slow part here. Shouldn't take too much longer. If this part's boring you watching me do this little bit of work here, you can either fast forward it to see the end result or just continue watching. I know there's a lot of videos out there talking about how to utilize and recycle your power supplies, and there's a lot of RC guys doing it. But I haven't seen any recent videos done, so I figured for some of my new viewers and the people that are new into the hobby, or just those that are watching my channel that like to tinker with electronics, a fun little project that you can mess with. Right now I'm just cleaning up all these wires that I'm not going to be using. I could have left them all there and not done a thing to them and just hooked into my 12 volt positive and 12 volt negative and been done. But I want this to have a nice clean look. I don't want wires just sticking out all over the place when I'm done. That's a pet peeve of mine. I want my wiring to look nice and decent. And this has a LED already on it when it's on. I've got another one that I've done where when I hooked the toggle switch up, I moved the LED as well. That way I could see when it was plugged in and whatever. The only thing with not doing the toggle switch after you're done charging and stuff, you just unplug it and you're good to go. Alrighty. Let me get all these ground wires here all in line and in order. That's the one I'm going to use. Like I said, I was going to leave one loose so I can solder my ground to it. I could have cut these all off and just soldered straight to where they're at on the board, but don't have to. And I'm trying to do this the most simplest way and easiest way for anybody that's new to this. That way it's not overwhelming with the wires. And right here was my black and green wire. I could have cut them a lot shorter before I soldered them. Like I said, I do plan on eventually putting a switch in here. So for now, I'll just kind of bunch together. I could put a zip tie, but I'm not going to waste a zip tie on that. Well, maybe I'll use one of these original zip ties that I cut. Recycle a zip tie if I can get it to go through. It was opened up much wider for a larger grouping of wires. I'm just going to tuck that in there since there's nothing bare. There's nothing that it's going to be in the way of. Main thing you want to be sure of, like I said, tape any bare ends. And there's a fan in this. Most of your power supplies are going to have a fan. That's another good thing about using one of these. It's a fan. There's a fan running it, so it won't overheat. My wall wart that came with this charger swelled up from heat because there was no fan control, so it did overheat. Let me tin this so I can get ready to solder to this. Doesn't have to have a whole lot exposed there. So tin that, and I need to tin where I pulled the positive leads off. Alright. Solder my ground to the ground. And on my wall wart, this one came out color matched. The red was positive and ground was negative on it. If you're ever uncertain, you can run your multimeter to it when it's got power. Just stick your prongs through it and see which one's getting your voltages. Before I solder the positive to the board, I'm going to go ahead and tape this little open space here up. I could put heat shrink tubing on that, but later on down the road I will go through and do my own personal touches on this. So for now, I'm not going to waste my heat shrink tubing. The tape is cheaper, and honestly I don't have any heat shrink. I got just a very little bit of heat shrink tubing. A friend of mine gave me some this evening while working on something for him. I need to buy some. Okay, and I'll zoom in here for you all, because now we'll be soldering directly to a post on the board. Right there where my finger's touching. Let me see. Right there. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up. I'm going to be soldering directly to that. And then we're just about done with this project. And just as with any other soldering, be careful, be sure your solder joints are clean, and you don't want to run solder over to other areas of the board. Alright, I've got that all soldered up in. No more cluster of wires running out of it like it originally had. Since I was soldering directly to the board, there was nothing to tape. It's safe where it's at. I got a place back here that allows the wiring to come out. I just got a notch right there where I can zip tie it if I chose to. I will go ahead and put my screws back in the case. But this is just one of the many things you can do with this. That you don't have to just use it for RC. 12 volt. If you're working on your car audio, you can use it for that. Working on other things that that are not necessarily battery operated, but that are operated off 12 volt. If you want to power some automotive LED strips in your house, and you don't want to go buy a wall wart, and you've got an old power supply, you can hook a whole bunch of LED lights up to one of these. And alright, now let me find where I've got my computer wire. I can plug into here, and as you can see, I'll unplug it real quick. That green LED went off. Plug it in, you can hear the power come up. I can feel the fan blowing. And then when I plug this into this, that came on. I don't know if I have any LiPos close to me to plug in to check to show you. I got this old one here. I don't know. Let me see what we got. Like I said, it was an old one, low voltage on the battery, but as you see, it was going to try to charge. I got another LiPo here that I know is good. I didn't think about having a battery close to me. And it is charging. The fan will run from the power supply, keep it cool. That will help maintain the charger's life better. Let me go ahead and stop this. I'm gonna unplug that, unplug this, just to show you that it will work. I've got a Orion charger here that another friend gave me. As you said, it says will not power on, and it's got a place that plugs here. Inside here it has what's similar to a laptop charger that power supply went bad, but oh, different kind of plug. I have I have this power supply here that I made for that one. I used the plug that came with it. it plugs in there. And then I'll unplug this and show you. I'll zoom back out a little bit, because this is the case that I built that has the on-off to it. And that one powered on from this one. And yeah, a majority of your power supplies are going to use the same kind of plugs. Sadly, this one, being the weird off-brand one, uses a weird purport. I can't say the word. It has its own specific plug. It's a little bit different than the rest. Anyways, this is another episode of Chaotic Torture RC's Tech Tip Sunday. I hope maybe you've learned something from this. Hope you can take something from this and apply it to your own needs. I like doing this because I know I have a very well balanced, maintained setup. I've been using this setup here with this one for 2.5, 3 years, I do believe. Not a single issue out of it. No special mods other than what you saw me do for this one. And to show that this one does still work, it's just the crazy plug difference between the two. I will turn this on the one last time. Powered on, you heard it. See the blue light, no light. Cheap way to power up your chargers to keep things going good. If I actually wanted to, I could take the wiring from this, hook it into this power supply, run both chargers off one supply if need be. I've got a bunch of these. I keep spare computer parts, so I figured I would just do this one for the video, make one now. And I plan on doing other things with this one. I'm going to put the on-off switch eventually. I will do some of the USB ports in it for other devices. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I've got much more coming in the future. I got some things coming up, especially with winter coming. I've got some special project ideas in mind. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll answer anything I possibly can. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.